Right now, it says that Facebook should be good. And let me check. Check. Are we there? I think we are. Check this out. Come on. Hello, world. Facebook. Facebook. Awesome. We are live on Facebook, guys. There we go.
Hello.
Nice. Welcome, friends. So glad you're here. If y'all can leave a comment, if you want to introduce yourselves, feel free to say hello to our friends Brian and Dana. I'm so glad that you're here. We're here on Facebook Live, interviewing and just having a conversation. It's not really an interview, it's a conversation. That's what we've been talking about. We've had some really great discussions prior to this call that we are just so excited about. And so if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have success stories, if you have worries, like the value to you, friends, is your participation. You know, if you participate and you show up in this conversation, like I have no doubt Brian and Dana will, I promise you'll take something away from it. It'll be a blessing. It'll help you show up differently to people that you love, people that you maybe haven't even met yet, but are walking through some real struggles. So feel free to say hi on the comment box, share who you are, share what's going on. If there's a struggle, you're talking to people that know what it's like, and you're in very good company. So we welcome you to our table. We welcome you to our conversation because we welcome you to our lives. So with that, guys, I'm so grateful for you being here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I've gotten to know both of you over the course of a year, almost 3 years with you, Dana, 2 years at least, and just have gotten to see both of you in very honest, raw ways and very beautifully growth for both of you. And growth has looked very different for both of you, also very similar. You've invited me into your guys' growth and allowed me to grow with you in my own ways. And so I'm just extremely grateful for this conversation. Brian's out in Indianapolis, and Dana is out in Sonoma County and just north of San Francisco in California, IA right now. And so we're all experiencing different weather patterns. We're experiencing similar hurts. We're all experiencing similar realities. And so with that, Dana, would you mind just sharing, who are you? What's your story? You know, we're talking about addiction. We're talking about how we can love and honor those that are walking through this. And so with that, would you invite us, would you share with us what addictions looked like, what your stories looked like before, during, and after, so that our friends here across the country can know who you are?
Great. I'll make it quick because it's a long story, but I'm Dana Bryan. I'm the co-founder, along with my husband, of Crossing the Jordan Academy, that we house the nonprofit, which is a part of my story, is that we house now over 110 residents, and including their children, of those that want to change their life. It's an 18-month residential program, a working program. You can check us out. We have a crazy documentary on what we do differently here, but it is really a part of my story and what I believe and how I came to it. So in my high school years, I was that cheerleader girl with a great future, and something wasn't right in my inside, right? Like I could tell that what I was presenting to the world and who I really was inside wasn't aligning, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I kind of had this, of course, hole inside of me that I was trying to fill. And eventually, even though I had what the world again and my family thought was a great future, that continued to deteriorate inside of me, and I ended up leaning on drugs, and really a domestic violence relationship is what really triggered it. I fell in love with the wrong guy. And now I come from an Irish Catholic family. We just didn't talk about this stuff, nor did I have any of that stuff in my life, in my history. I don't have, what I was struggling with in my family. So they didn't really know what to do or how to react. And so very shortly after, I crashed quick. I wasn't out there long. I go hard and fast. That's just always been my personality. And I ended up on a crime spree, and I just was gone. I was gone, and from methamphetamine, and out on the streets real quick. It didn't take much, and just found myself in this horrible situation. The best way to describe it is I didn't care if I lived or died. So committing crimes because of my drug addiction and my gambling addiction and that whole lifestyle, it didn't really matter to me if I lived or died. And so I ended up in federal prison for many years. And
how long were you there, Dana?
5 years. And then I had 2 years in long-term treatment myself before I went, which is very weird to get treatment and then go do 5 years. But it served me well because I was able to develop who I am and what I believe, and how I minister to women in prison. So,
and how old were you? How old were you, like in prison?
I went away at 25. I went to prison at 25 and came home at 30. I was so happy to get out of my 20s because I've been abused and drug addicted in prison. My 20s sucked. Okay, 48 today. So not today, but 48 now, and it's been a wonderful journey. And here's what led me to crossing the Jordan. It was a vision from God, like right away, 1999. It was clear what I was called to do, and I had I really trained a lot of women while I was in prison, because I had developed who I am today. Not anything of who I am today, but whatever version was that part of me then. And
wait, so you're training women in prison?
Yeah.
I haven't been to prison, so like, tell me, like, how does one like say, "Excuse me, warden, I'm gonna teach some women some things"? Like,
well, it was really like, what I loved is that at one point officers would say, you could tell when you come in to prison, if you're pretty broken and you want change, it's pretty obvious. If you're really into that lifestyle, it's pretty obvious also. So over time, I got really well known for being the woman that you could bring the brokenhearted to. Wow. And minister to them. And, I saw what wasn't working. And really, the end of the day, obviously I'm a woman of faith. Almost everybody that knows me knows that. But also, like, when you're future focused and you know that you are called to something and you have a plan, it's so, you're not doing time. You're in training for that thing. And so that's how I created my experience in prison. And so, people desired to be around that want change. Now, I would definitely irritate people that didn't want change, but but that to be said, it really allowed my experience there to be very fruitful and very future focused. And then it was rough when I got home. I transitioned. I did not transition well. I was somewhat in fantasy of how difficult it is to transition because I had such a strong network and so connected to my tribe in there, and to come out and not have a tribe really was a struggle. And it is what made me even more passionate for starting Crossing the Jordan. And I met my husband, who I didn't know on my first date, that had spent 9 years in some of the toughest prisons, including Pelican Bay and San Quentin. Both of us kind of don't fit what people perceive to have that kind of lifestyle. So he kind of joked with me and made fun of me actually being an ex-con, never telling me that he had pretty much just got out. And we never connected. We met on Craigslist.
Must be love.
He bought my dryer on Craigslist, so it wasn't like anything, and we had a similar vision for people. We saw what wasn't working. We've been on parole. We've been in programs. We've been a part of the system for a decade or more. And we saw what was hurting people. And no better way than somebody that's been in all those situations to minister and train people. And we developed a curriculum at Crossing the Jordan that's very much like, with all due respect to military, we really love the sort of Navy SEALs model, the whatever it takes, all in, really, and more importantly, that our facilities are about you being a part and earning while you learn and being a part of your own deal. And so that's who I am today. That's why I do what I do. Yeah. And we're experiencing incredible results based on, it took 20 years of hardship to develop what we developed. It didn't come easy, but here we are.
because right now, crossing the Jordan, tell us, let's just like brag a little bit, the success rate. It's important. And then we're going to jump right to Brian because it's something to be said. People need to know, like, the work that you guys are doing is not easy work. I mean, you're talking about the marginalized, you're talking about the hurt, you're talking about the criminals, you're talking about the people that people see in the movies.
A lot of ex-cons. Yeah, a lot of ex-cons. Yeah. So we have an 85% success rate among our graduates. And I really believe in that, like, in some scenarios, 10 times the national average. I mean, we can debate apples to apples or oranges to oranges. I love those debates. But we raise the bar high. I believe that's a part of our success. Mm-hmm. I think that I get to speak freely despite what some people that might oppose my thinking say, because I've been there. And I know that some of the way in which we do what we do, like this one day at a time, is awesome. And I get the point behind it, but also raising the bar of expectation. Like, if you are just doing this white knuckling thing, and again, one day at a time, we can look at it a couple ways, so no offense. But when you raise the bar so high that they can go after any dream that they have, their burning desires, all those things, and you create their who they are and what they want to do around that future self, and get rid of all those limitations, 85% success rate, those people aren't living like barely making it lives. Like, they are crushing their goals. Yeah. They are going full throttle. They are having extraordinary success in their life. They are community leaders. So I think that's the biggest part of the equation. Like, what's the goal here? Just to get sober? Oh, hell no. Like, and the more you raise that bar, the more drugs aren't a thing anymore. Like, all that life is not a thing anymore because you're so into that new life and what you're doing.
Yeah. We had a really good question actually from Brian's brother, Chauncey Boy. What do you guys consider success? Great. So that's actually a question that I was about to ask you. What is that? Whenever you say we've success rate of 85%, what exactly is that? What does that mean?
So for me, it means that they're fully employed, which is a big thing. Yeah. Actively healthy in their family, active with their children, connected to their children, and going after their dreams. So we keep in close contact with them, so we know what they're up to. So yeah, we don't just like stayed sober. I mean, those are the
don't get arrested, please.
Yeah. So not in prison, not all those things. So success to us is this giving member of society, paying your taxes, contributing to your community.
Yeah, giving back.
Giving back.
Brian.
Yep.
Please. Who are you, man? What is your story? What do you bring? Please, man. I wish people could actually see the man underneath the sleeves a little bit, because it tells a story, and I want people to know that story.
Well, I'll do it a little bit like we did it in recovery. My name is Brian Gordon, 37 years old. My sobriety date is June 15th, 2017. I started getting high at 12 years old. I had a very different childhood. It was, I didn't consider it bad. We never went without. We didn't come from poverty. I was pretty silver spoon fed kind of a thing. My dad worked very hard and did his best, but because my dad worked a lot and my mom had 3 kids, we were getting into some interesting stuff. And so at about 12 years old, I got high and I learned how to escape from the racing thoughts in my head. That was like my biggest thing. Was I was trying to find a way to make the abnormal normal, and that's typical for an addict. That's what we like to do. But for a very long time, I didn't believe I was an addict. From the time I was 12 until I broke my arm in 2005 and got onto opiates, and that definitely changed the way I saw addiction. That was the first time I actually heard a doctor tell me I was addicted to something. But things still didn't make sense. I broke my arm in 2005, got on pain pills. 3 or 4 years later, lost my insurance. Those pain pills turned into heroin. And for about 7 years, I was doing heroin, meth, you name it. Just chasing the dragon all the time, all day, every day. It was like a full-time job. It wasn't until late 2016, my brother invited me out to Indiana and just got real vulnerable with me. He told me that basically I had been holding him and my family hostage, that everybody was afraid to answer their phone because they didn't know if it was going to be me dead on the other end, like getting the news. Sorry, it gets me a little choked up when I talk about this. I had a big talk with him, told him I wanted to change my life. I had tried getting sober before, doing it on my own. Like, I can fix this. That was the world I lived in. I can do this. I'm a man. I don't need help. That's where I live. And that wasn't working. So I had gone from there and gotten in a really bad accident about 3 months after that, maybe 4 months after that, Thanksgiving, and then called my brother and said, I need out of here. And he said, okay, but there's going to be some rules. Things are going to be different for you. We're going to lay down the law a little bit. So you have to start going to meetings. You got to go to church, and I'm going to drug test you whenever I feel like it. And I said, okay. And for a 37-year-old man, that's difficult, very difficult. But it started bringing a structure into my life that I really never had. From the time I was 12, I was a free spirit. I was running around I had a pager when I was 12 years old because my parents could never find me. So the rule was, if we paid you with fives, you come home, because I would be somewhere in Orange County. So structure was different for me, but it started to work. I started to see it. I got deep in recovery, started to really learn about addiction, and what started to make sense to me was how my brain actually works, and starting to realize that, the drugs and the alcohol and all the different things, they're not the problem. I am. And I had to really learn how to get vulnerable and uncomfortable and accept emotions and feelings and things that really were things I've been running from since I was 12 years old. When I got sober, I was basically like a 12-year-old boy, learning how to feel things, learning how to adjust to life, learning structure. But it's been going well so far. It's going on 3 years, and things are going really well.
That's awesome. Yeah. This is why, guys, friends, this is why I asked these two to show up. You just heard a small part of their story. And with that, for both of you guys, as you guys think about where we are today, given the global pandemic, knowing what it's like to be an addict yourself, knowing that you are serving, caring for addicts around you as well. And let's be honest, we all have a vice. The three of us have discussed this already pretty thoroughly. Like, we all have a vice. It doesn't just refer to drugs. It doesn't just refer to pornography. There's a litany of addictions that we all have. We all experience in some way, shape, or form. And so that's why I always tell people, come to the table in this conversation, because that's real life. And I mean, for both of you, whenever you think of the addict today, the person that is isolated right now, they are by themselves because they have to by government order. They're not working, once again, because they can't. Maybe they just got furloughed. The distractions, the rhythms of their life have just been completely botched, completely shot. What do you guys say to that person? If they're watching right now, what do you say to them? And then to those of us that maybe aren't even aware of those people, like, what message do you have for those that may say, I'm not an addict? Okay, well then maybe you should get to know one and start loving on somebody.
I guess we're all going to say what we talked about yesterday a lot,
Yeah.
But what was key, I think, in our conversation is connection. Mm-hmm. So basically, everything we do at Crossing the Jordan is about creating deep connection, because we, like we said, a military unit that's gone through hell together tend to be deeply connected, right? And so there's this idea that we would, die for each other. And in today's world, that level of deep connection, I don't know that it exists as much as it maybe used to. But to that point,
say deep level, let's break that down.
Deep level connection means the authenticity of who you really are, your thoughts. The biggest thing that I came away and took away from our conversation, it's like, get really raw with somebody about what you're thinking and how you're feeling. Be willing to be messy with somebody. So even if whatever that person receives as you getting messy, I'm not saying dumping anger or getting political. This whole conversation should be completely bipartisan. this conversation is about human beings.
Hmm.
Something we're really not talking much about around the suicide and overdoses and addiction during this time. I think it's starting to play out, and you're starting to hear it more and more. So I'm really glad we're together right now having the conversation.
Yeah.
But the connection piece. So, and the rawness of what you're not, hi, how are you? I'm fine. Everything's good. No, I'm not okay. I'm having these sick thoughts, whatever they are, and getting them out of you, exposing what you really are thinking, and they won't have the power over you that they probably currently are under this environment. So that's like the first step.
Yeah. Getting real, being honest, being vulnerable.
Super raw. This is a great time for all of us to be raw. Now, what I define raw is not something I'm seeing on Facebook. I'm talking raw connection between somebody that loves and cares for you and getting real and exposing the sick, the twisted thinking that we all have. I don't really care if it's porn or drugs or overeating or anything like that, right? Just getting it out of you and intimately connecting to somebody that cares about you and being willing, like Brian said, as a man, to be willing to say those things no matter what, pride or whatever it is that's messing with you. Because here we always are having to poke, pull, and, really do whatever it takes to get somebody to get that level of vulnerability and authenticity. And then the freedom, they're like, wow, I made up that you were going to think this way about me. One, or wow, I had no idea that was so consuming my entire being.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're free to some, until the next thing, they have to do the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, how do we get there? I mean, honestly, like, you're seeing what it doesn't look like on Facebook. Like, we're seeing what it looks like all over the media, and unfortunately in homes. Like, how do we get into that space of, like, we are sharing openly, we are being honest with ourselves? Like, man, it sounds so elementary, but really, I think we've kind of lost the heart in it. Some of us have really struggled with it. I mean, I've been guilty of, like, I can back away, right? Whenever we were talking the other day, people ask you how you're doing, and they don't want to know how you're really doing. Because if you say, like, I'm actually struggling, it's like, whoa, hey, I have to go to a meeting. I'm literally taking the kids, like, to school or downstairs now because school's closed. Like, I mean, it's like we realized, like, before the pandemic, we would ask, how are you doing? And we didn't really care.
Yeah.
If we're sometimes, like, honest, I've been there, and I would say I enjoy asking that question.
Yeah.
For me, Joe, if I could just hop in real quick, it's just doing it. Like, I have had some of the greatest conversations with complete strangers by just letting them know I'm an addict.
Mm.
You may not care, and that's fine. But I want you to know who you're talking to, because I'm more than willing to bet when you saw me, you saw the tattoos, you probably thought convict or addict. Like, I'm sure you thought it. Now let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that because I'm very open with it nowadays because, A, it helps me stay accountable. Just exposing myself right from the front. I was mentioning yesterday, I feel like the reason me and my wife have such a great connection is our first dinner was not about, like, I'm this awesome guy and I can do everything in the world for you. It was, I'm an a-hole, I'm an addict, I've got trust issues, I'm controlling, I can be a brat, but I'll buy you dinner. That was basically our first date. And we stayed there till I think 12:30 or 1 in the morning. They were, like, asking us to leave the restaurant, but we got into some really real conversation and it was fun. And just, I kind of wish everybody would do that for once. Like, just, who are you really? Not who do you want to be, not who do you want others to, who do you think other people want you to be? Who are you? Mm-hmm. And just try it. Like, just for once, try it. Just expose yourself and see what happens. I think we're all so afraid of being judged and we're all scared about what other people are going to think, what other people are going to do. But the reality of it is people want to be seen and they want to be heard. Yes. That's just who we are as humans.
Yes.
So show somebody, do it for somebody, and just see what happens. And not every time is going to go good, but that's okay. You learn from it and you readjust to it and you try again. We can't take us down.
And with that, like, one of the biggest realization, Brian, you'll probably agree is that you think people like when you're going to connect to people is when you're successful. Like we think that we connect with people more deeply through success, but that lie is that's a big lie. And then we wait and wait and wait to really reveal ourselves, because then they'll like us, right? Like then they'll really connect with us because we're not that person anymore. I mean, I robbed 9 banks. Like I'm out about it. Do you know, as a successful businesswoman, what that feels like? Like, oh my gosh, the stuff that goes through my head, right? Yeah. I just started Michael's like, just be honest, my husband, about who you really are. Otherwise you're just a fraud and you can't teach this stuff, right? And what I felt is people connect. I mean, we connect bottom line through pain and suffering more than any success. And you get to see what kind of people you want in your life. It's a really good way of weeding out people that aren't, and dead weight and people that are holding you down. So you have to be intentional about connecting to a community of people that are going to love you where you're at. And the only way to do that is to get raw and real. Now, I have highly successful women still in my life that love me for who I am today and don't judge me for who I was. And it's not all of them, trust me, and it threw me for a loop of who it was and who it wasn't. But we don't know until we get there, right? And I'm just like, here's my commitment, is that I'm going to be messy and raw in hopes that I can touch one person with my story. So then I'm authentic to me. And if you can't handle it, then that's okay, right? And we get there faster, but we make up that over and over and over that we're going to connect through our success. And that's not true. People don't really give a crap about your success. They want to hear the authenticity of your truth, because there's connection in their pain, and you somehow make their pain okay or more palatable, or there's hope in that they can do all the things. Like I really take what I do so passionately, because I want to have such a high bar for success that women that think it's not possible can see what is possible, right? So I keep up leveling my game all the time, because I know that they need to see that that level of success can come even though I'm so raw and real with the community about who I am, right?
Yeah.
So the raw and real is the most important part of everything.
Well, that's because we're made for relationship. We're created for relationship. And whenever we invite somebody into our hearts, relationship's actually possible. You're exactly right. Whenever it's beautiful, it's easy to fall in love with somebody. But whenever it's actually painful, whenever they're walking through some real stuff, I mean, gosh, you're exactly right. Like I feel like I can tell you who's been there whenever I've been walking through real hardship. Celebrations, yeah, sure, I can tell you who was at my 30th birthday and things like that, absolutely. But whenever I think of impact, whenever I think of personal impact in my life, I'm like, man, buddies of mine who came over to our house whenever dad got sick, or this life happened, lost the job, lost the family, lost the marriage, lost the child, right? Who was willing to show up to that doorstep without any answers, didn't really know anything. They're just crying themselves, kind of scared out of their mind, right? And this is what we're called to do for the addict as well. Like, come, are you willing to stand with us?
Connect with, you're alone in a room full of people, Brian. You could probably, like, when that came up for me, I didn't even know that the guy that was talking about it was actually talking about me. I was like, damn, somebody just got in my mind. I am the girl alone in a room full of people. So the shelter in place is nothing different. Like that part of you, whether you're here or there, has to be, it is intensified under these situations. It's definitely, so that's why connection is more important, because a lot of people that are struggling with it in the first place have that mindset. Like they're so inward, disconnected, that they're hanging on for dear life. And then you put like something like this and they go over the edge, right? Yeah. Because they haven't created the network of intimacy. So this is a really good time to get raw and real with and build your network intentionally, right? We have to be intentional. We have to be awake about it. We have to be open, not fear-based. Like, okay, I'm in a crisis. Who can I connect with? Because this could unfold more and more and more worse, And then we have what could potentially unfold around suicide and overdoses.
Yeah. Yeah. When this first, me and my wife were sitting at the house when this first came to, and I heard about the first shelter in place, and I went, crap, this is going to get bad. And she was like, explain it. And I was like, I love sheltering in place when I was an addict. That was my favorite thing to do. I locked myself in a warehouse.
This is an answer to prayer.
I loved being alone and getting high, and any excuse that I could come up with, I would. And I found excuses everywhere. Like I could find any reason to lock myself in my warehouse, and I was living in a warehouse because I was successful according to the outside world and on Facebook, but I was locking myself in a warehouse, living in it and getting high. And that was my favorite thing to do. And the thoughts that went through my head and the things that happen when you're high, like I would drill holes in my warehouse door and be peeking outside looking for the cops. Like you lose your mind. And it's from the drugs because they strike. Oh yeah, that's my brother's dog. That was my dog at the time. I thought that might fix it. So here I am locking myself in a warehouse, getting high all the time. I have a business to run as I'm customizing cars, and I would have customers call me like 3 months later, like, where's my car? And I'm like, I felt like it had just gotten there. Like time, you get lost in this span of darkness and you don't realize it. And now the government is telling addicts, stay in your home. And they're like, awesome. What they don't realize is that before the pandemic, I feel like mental health was finally getting talked about a lot. And now nobody's doing anything about it. And now is the time to do something about it. Care about your neighbor, care about your friend, care about people, get curious about people, because that one conversation could literally talk someone off the edge. Someone just could be walking through the grocery store thinking my life sucks. And all you got to do is say hi. And you can do that from 6 to 10 feet away. You don't have to be right next to someone.
Have either of you had like a moment like that where like somebody, like divine appointment, like I'll go there, like somebody showed up and for some whatever reason it interrupted like what you were about to do, and it may not be suicide related, it may just be like I was about to make a stupid decision, I was about to take another hit, I don't know. But whenever you guys think about your own journey, has that been experienced for either one of you?
Well, what's important to understand, I think, in this situation that we're starting to talk about addiction is one is very important that I'm very passionate about. It doesn't have to be an either or conversation. It can be an and conversation. And what I notice when I start to bring this conversation to light, it annoys people as if we must talk about one and not the other. And we can predict in virus models, but when you come up with possibly what could happen as a result of this, it's offensive. Brian and I looked up and confirmed that there were 10,000 related suicides to the 2008 crash. We can all, common sense says this is bigger than 2008. So they are not, we are trying to get ahead of that, hence the curve or whatever you want to call it, but it can be an and it doesn't have to be an either or. And the 10,000 is a real number by Forbes. That's our source, right? ODs, last time they counted, it wasn't exactly last year, so I don't want to misquote. It was, I think they do those numbers and report them in like March of last year. So their last year they counted with 69,000 overdoses, right? So those are real numbers that we need to bring to the table, real data that's proven. It doesn't have to be the destiny. We're not predicting anything. There's no doom and gloom. And for me, I'm not trying to put fear out there whatsoever. But I know that one person can make a great impact on another person. And the thing that we do, especially maybe non-addicts or whatever you want to call them.
Normies.
Yeah.
I don't even like them. We're all addicted to something. Okay. So I know that we make up that one person can't make an impact. And like I said, I had given up on my vision. I met my husband. He stoked the fire. He believed in me. And now hundreds, if not thousands of people have been impacted by my story. So you can't think that you can't make such an impact on somebody's life by saying, I'm committed to getting messy with you. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes. I'm going the long haul with you. Because that's usually what happens is people ask, don't get the response they want and don't want to deal with the mess that comes with it. Or they tell themselves that they're not really making an impact because they're just one person. And so I think that the thing that we really have to do here is say, yes, you can pick up the phone call, really, really dive deep and see where somebody's at and just posture yourself like this is going to be uncomfortable, but I feel like this person might be struggling. So I'm going to get in there. And one person does make a difference.
Yeah.
I've learned to love the uncomfortable. At first, it was real weird. Like the emotions, feelings, like when you're first getting sober after so long of numbing the pain, like you stop feeling, like period. And then you get sober, and those first like 6 to 8 months, I was crying over American Idol. Like it's just weird. Like you're feeling things, and all kinds of things hit you. But the farther it went, and the more I kind of was not forced into it, but in a way, for my own sobriety, had to be forced into it. Like I had to force myself to just deal with it. And this was one of my biggest fears. Even what we're doing right now, I got super nervous beforehand. I hate public speaking, although all the tattoos make people think I love attention. I really don't. Like, not like that. And so getting used to that was very difficult. And now it's just so much better. Like I enjoy the feelings. Through my recovery, I went through the Vegas massacre and lost a lot of friends and stayed sober through it. Lost my grandfather. I've been through some other rough situations, and staying sober through it was only because I was able to get uncomfortable. And whether you're an addict or not, what people always go addict drugs, and that's not it. It can be sex, it can be food, it can be work, it could be the gym. Like an addict is an addict is an addict, and a lot of us don't even realize that we're addicts. I think the last time I looked it up, there's 26.2 million addicts that were found in America, like by studies, and I'm sure it's way worse today. And so you may not realize that your neighbor is an addict, and getting uncomfortable with him and showing them that you're okay with getting uncomfortable can open that person up, him or her, that person up to getting uncomfortable with you, and just knowing that they're safe there. It's just a place to feel safe with being uncomfortable, and getting through it just once can change a lot.
Yeah, we tend to live in the uncomfortable now. So it's foreign when somebody comes in, because they're like, not being careful, but I know that tight-knit communities can sometimes get judged because there's such a level of vulnerability and accountability. In today's culture, they're negatively discussed, but we have a super tight culture here. Like, we're deeply connected, tons of accountability, tons of intimacy, but it is we live in that uncomfortable. Hey, like, that behavior is not okay. It's not serving your vision. What's up? You said you want to do XYZ, and this behavior is actually going against what you said your vision is. And so even we have women and men. So obviously my husband gets more intimate with the men, and I get more intimate with the women, but we call them out, right? But what happens when you call them out, your backyard is exposed. So people don't want to do that. Right. So even me as their leader, like, I'm like, ooh, thank you for bringing that. Right. But I have to make myself vulnerable. I better be doing what I tell and ask and train people to do. So if I don't expose myself, so I think that's the thing. We have to go in there, and we kind of want to hide our stuff. Mm-hmm. So getting messy is really not, it's about us. Yeah. But so much beauty is like birthed out of that. We all know failure, success creates incredible success. Like, we know that we can all find beauty in what's happening. I'm struggling right now. We're a small business shut down, and every day there's like the doom and gloom tries to get me. The fear tries to get me. Despite my faith, like, I'm frustrated. I believe that my rights are being taken, but what do I choose to do? Okay, I'm connected to my family. I can take a stand for what I believe and do it in a respectful way, which is difficult to find today. Like, there's tons of stuff, right? But we are not connected that way with people in general, and community and accountability, and calling people up, say, hey, like, I haven't seen or heard from you, and you committed to connecting with me once a week. What's up? Yep. And then you'll probably get, well, I don't want, and so if you position, like, I'm so committed to whatever their response is, I'm going to respond with love. Right. Yeah. But you got to prepare yourself for that. You got to be awake to that. It's not easy. Like, what we do isn't easy. With Brian and I, it's messy. It's tough. It's painful. It's a burnout job. That's what we've been talking about lately. It's like that's as raw as you get, right? Like, I know why people don't stay in this. It's so painful sometimes. I get why people get burnt out. I just have to commit to not getting burnout and staying committed to God and my mission. But I can see why it's painful to watch people give up on their lives and their children and OD and die. I mean, we see this stuff every day. And so it's what's going on in this world, it wouldn't really faze us as much because of the level of, death, spiritually or otherwise, that we're around every day. So we have to be intentional about.
Sorry, Dina. Yeah, what
Go ahead.
the recipe for disaster for addicts, especially for mentally ill, whether that goes on the level of addiction or other things, depression. I mean, this goes so wide, and that's what I'm hoping people understand is like we've been in a pandemic. They just don't report on it like they are on this. Like the pandemic has existed, drugs, mental illness, all these things have been happening, and they're getting worse with online bullying and the exposure we all have to so many different things now. It has gotten really bad, and then you put this in it, and it is just like the deepest part of the storm. Now we're in it as much as we can be, and now is the time when I want to call anybody up. My brother does this thing where he writes his to do and to be. What do you want to do today, and who do you want to be? And I would encourage people to do that. Like, okay, what do you want to do? That's great, but who do you want to be?
Yeah,
You want to be somebody that lifts others up. Like when I was growing up, we had the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like that was the thing, and then that disappeared with society. And I don't know. I mean, you could probably post it online, and nobody would have a clue what you were talking about. But the golden rule is simple: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Just treat people how you want to be treated. And there's still going to be evil, and there's still going to be bad people, and it's not always going to go good. We all expect something positive out of our actions, and that's where we fail as people. You got to go into it expecting nothing. Just let it be what it is, and there's going to be times when it sucks, and then there's going to be amazing times, and you just got to roll with the punches. And that's the way I feel like as society we can grow. Is you still got to try. Like, what do you want to do today, and who do you want to be?
Yeah. I heard the other day somebody way smarter than me said this. Am I coming from a place from love, or am I going for love? Am I going from a place from exactly what you said, Brian? I love you. I care about you. I give a rip. So I'm going to ask you how your day's going. I don't even know who you are. Yeah, you're the bagger at the grocery store. Thank you. Your job is way harder now than it hasn't ever. I love you. I care about you. I'm just going to ask the question. You're my neighbor. I've lived next door to you for 3 years. Don't know who you are. I know how much you paid for the house because Zillow told me, but I don't know your story. Am I willing to just come from a place of just because I love you, because I care, and I'm willing just to do it regardless of what comes back to me. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because this is what I'm called to be. This is who I am. This is part of my identity. This is who you are too. And I'm willing to risk it.
And that you, when you talk about that, like what's your motive, it really has been really revealing. We have to be careful because I notice I'm in the social services, volunteering, nonprofit world. And what I notice is that a lot of people that give back, I'm going to piss some people off. Clearly, people that know me know I probably will, is when I notice volunteering or when I notice when people are giving, I can see almost intentionally, is it about their feel good or is it about the beneficiary of those they seek to help? And I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated where I live. I'm frustrated in a lot of the situations because we'll post that we hashtag volunteering or whatever, but is it actually benefiting the homeless, the addicted, those things? Because we can feel good about it, but we do it so quick and we judge what we think other people need. I don't know that we really get down to actual results versus reality. Like they want to make it feel good. They think that they're giving back what they should, but maybe you should talk to somebody that's been there and done that. A helping hand is, giving away something isn't always help. Causing them to get out of their suffering and survival and having them go after something, then yes, then you partner with them and there's results in that. So this is tough conversations that, are very politically motivated, but they don't have to be. Like, let's just go after results. We have classes, results versus reasons. Like, what is your reason is, I think I should help these people because they're marginalized. Well, is it help? We got to not give them a fish for the day. We got to teach them how to fish. And that's what we do over here. So I just had to look at results. I had to deny my own self. I got to look at what's real, forget my emotions, get my feelings out of the way. Like, where's the results? Okay, this is where we got to go after, and connection is always a great one. Like that you can't screw up if you're raw and real and you're authentic and vulnerable. You can't really screw that up. Like, hey, I'm willing to be wrong. That's something that people don't do much. My marriage went through the roof the one time. My husband and I are very fiery people. Like when we fight is real, right? Awesome. And he goes, you know what? I'm willing to be wrong. And I'm like, what the hell? You just ruined everything. There's no more fun in fighting with you. And we can engage people the same way, right? Yeah. And now my marriage is literally the best it's ever been because we're both coming at willing to be wrong. And if we're wrong, we shift quickly. So if we could, even in the current situation, be willing to be wrong, to look at facts, not fiction, to be seeing what results are with common sense approach, with addiction, we can win this. We can get ahead of suicide. We can get ahead of ODs. We can say, hey, I'm willing to have the tough conversation. I don't need to be right. I'm just here. I'm willing to stick with it with you. So I don't need to tell you my opinion. Here I am. Tell me what's up. I told you guys we have an exercise called Release the Rage, which I think everybody should be doing right now, where we can, like, our tribe will sometimes put furniture together on a sledgehammer and release that rage. And the idea is that we take, if you don't, as my husband, I can't swear, but we do where we are. And it's like, if you don't take that mother, you know what, out for a walk, that beast inside you going to take you out for a walk. Yep. And that's really good information for right now because we're all feeling it. Each one of us, no matter where you come from. Mm-hmm. And so there's a way to release that out where you're going to keep it in and the beast is going to take over. And drugs and everything else is going to look really good here soon if it hasn't already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Dana said, what they taught me in recovery is one of the things was you have to check your intentions at the door with everything. Like they don't want people around us to be uncomfortable. So like we have a big book. It's the AA book that even HA goes through. And it's about checking your intentions at the door. Like it's okay to go to a bar if you're going to a bar to socialize. But if you are going to a bar to get drunk and that is your thought process, you're in trouble. And you need to check your intentions. And I have to do that every morning because it's funny, Joe, you posted former addicts. I'm like, no, actually, I'm still an addict.
Yeah, well, trust me. I was like, awesome. I wanted to say that. And
I'll take that. I'll take it.
I was like, hey, I don't know. We'll just assume.
Every day I have to check my intentions. When I wake up and I put my foot to the floor, I got to check my intentions for the day. Like, why am I doing this? Because I can make Advil dangerous if I want to. Like,
sure.
That's who I am as an addict. My brain fires and I just go all in. And if I don't learn to check my intentions, but even as a non-addict, checking your intentions is a good thing. And I still struggle with it. Like I'll do something expecting a thank you. Mm-hmm. Like that's why I did it. And when you don't say thank you, I'm like, what's wrong with you? And here I go. And I fight with it still every day. However, when you can get outside yourself a little bit and just go into something without expectation, that's when things really start to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you brought it up that the two things that the takeaway is, one, that whole connection piece, but two is service. Like serve. When you are feeling like you are in your head, the best thing to do is to give back to somebody else. And you can do that in such easy ways, but it is the quickest, fastest solution. As soon as it comes, I mean, we're so well trained. Our teams are like, oh, I'm in trouble, serve. Oh, I'm in trouble, go do something. Like immediately, as quick as you can to shift out of that, because we either are in survival or we're in creation. Right? You can't be in both. So to get out of survival, the first thing you do is connect with people and serve, right? In service, you always connect with people, right? Through that. And you get to know. So, but if you're intentional about being of service, that is the quickest solution because addicts are selfish people. We hurt our families. We hurt our kids. Like that's real. Like I hurt my children. I look at them, I say, please forgive me. My youngest one's got the best of me. Our oldest one's got the worst of us, right? Super self-consuming just by nature. So what do? I serve. I go find a woman that's hurting and I forget my problems seem this big. And in this current climate, we talked about, Joe, we have a children's village in Africa that, trust me, they're struggling, right? If they don't get US dollars, we're in trouble over there. And so many nonprofits are experiencing this, but we're focused on keeping them fed. We had to get them 3 months worth of food just in case. Like, that's the service stuff, thinking a bigger picture than yourself. And then that's when you can get rid of that, like what is consuming you. And you'll find yourself, oh, dude, I'm not even thinking about drugs or cigarettes or alcohol or weed or whatever, or porn. Like, I'm not even thinking about it anymore because I'm out getting food, making sure that my kids in Africa have food. Like, the bigger the picture is, the bigger your contribution, the less likely you are to get sucked into that hell that you were once in. So think big, think touching people, send a sweet message. I got a call, which after we talked, remember we said getting people on the phone, just making a call.
Yeah.
I got some random call from a guy named Joe, wasn't you, saying, I'm just checking in with you. We're calling some people in the community. I don't know him. It wasn't religious. It wasn't weird. It was just like, hey, if you need any help, we're here, and left a number. And I thought, holy shit, that is so cool.
Did you get the right number?
Yeah, right? Did you get the right number? I'm going to call back today to just say, hey, thank you so much. But that's totally possible. We could do that, right? And I'm not perfect at that either. Like, I'm a little like, I have so many people that are counting on me, and I could get paralyzed. And for a week, I stood at the wall and stared at it. It's like, okay, give ourselves permission now to move past that. The wave hit us. There's crazy stuff going on. Okay, now we can choose to move forward today, and give ourselves permission. And Michael's like, just stay in bed all day. Wow, what would it do if you didn't produce today?
Yeah.
Maybe God needs you to have some rest today. And I'm like, irritated he said it that way. And
he's okay with being wrong though, so it's like,
and yeah, he totally knows how to get me. But now I'm staying in bed today because I don't feel so great. I'm a little weary. I've been pushing hard, so after this I'm going to go to bed. But that's the point, is like connection and serving outside of yourself. You will be okay if we do that and not have our own agenda or expectation, like Brian said.
Yeah,
agree, Brian?
Absolutely.
That service thing is amazing.
Well, there's studies that show it's like you get an endorphin rush in your head when you do something just out of genuine heart. There are scientific studies. You can look it up all day long. Like, it is an amazing feeling. And when you do it as an addict, it's like another high that you can then enjoy, but it's a healthy high. Like, we got to balance the difference, because like I said, I can make anything dangerous. I have to check my intentions and learn why I'm doing things. Because again, if I then become selfish about my service, now I'm in it for the wrong reason. And now I'm expecting all over again. So it's all about checking your intentions and watching things. But I also want people, if you're an addict that is suffering, it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's perfectly fine to be like, I'm having a bad day and I need help, and reach out, and don't stop until you get someone on the phone that will go through it with you. On the other side of the fence, if you're not an addict, just understand that's what they go through. Like, they go through things as an addict that may be a little different than what everybody deals with trauma in a different way. And this can stem from really far back or whatever their trauma was, but just reaching out and allowing them, like, I don't want you to fix this. Like with me and my wife, when we get into it, sometimes it's like, I don't need you to fix this. I don't want to fix this. I just want to live in this right now. Let's just be uncomfortable for a minute and let's just talk. And I don't expect anything from it. I just want to have a conversation.
Yeah. How would you coach somebody that has been burned by an addict, by somebody that has been hurt? And it's like, this person's like calling me up. They're hurting again. Like, I have my own problems.
Again, you know what? We give up way too easily. You better play the long game. I'm just now in a deep relationship with my 25-year-old daughter. Why? Because I left her in prison. She was so hurt. We've had all this mess, but you know what I did? I'm like, okay, I'm committed to being the woman that she wants when her babies are born, which I was. I'm the best gaga ever. And I'm committed to getting as messy and as long as it takes for however hurtful it gets, And so that has been bearing much fruit, but there were times where I was like, oh, is it going to ever break through? And so if you go, okay, I'm not going to be a sprinter, I'm a marathon runner. And even if I try at it again, it's going to be messy and I might not get the results. But if we come at love, hey, you know what? I said I was sorry so many times to that kid. God showed me that I need to ask for forgiveness in an intimate setting and not let her escape the feelings of that. I took her to a spa. I got her really close. She's a hard girl, right? She's a tough cookie. She's not a softie. So it was uncomfortable for us. And I just kept saying, no, do you know I forgive you? And finally I broke through. So that was my stuff. I had to own my part in it, not because I was the addict, but in the relationship. I wasn't owning it. Yes, I'm sorry, but I'm better now. Just love me right now for not yes. No, it takes a minute for everybody to trust an addict. It takes a second for you to do the right thing over and over and over and them not throw it in your face, that they don't trust you. So both parties need to keep coming towards each other as opposed to like, oh, I already tried with them. Like, do you know how long it takes? We have an 18-month program, and most of the time we don't have total life change for 3 years, but we come in it thinking that we need to we're like 30-day spin out. Are you kidding me? It doesn't work. It takes a long time for behaviors to change, even if you're not a drug addict. So you gotta keep bringing awareness to those behaviors that are killing you.
Yeah.
What I would say is, stop going into it trying to fix it. That's not what we want. And you can't. Like, you can't fix me as an addict. I have to fix myself. So if you're answering the phone trying to fix it, then you're going to get out real fast. And you're going to be like, why should I answer the phone again? They're not going to listen to me. Of course they're not going to listen to you. That's not the point. Like, you can enable an addict to death. If you tell them it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I mean, God bless my parents. I love them both to death, but for a long time they enabled me. And then finally the switch hit where they were just both done. And when that happened, when my brother was done, when my family was done, I finally went, crap, who am I? Like, what have I done now? Because I believe I'm a good person, but when you're deep in it, you don't understand it. And they had to just kind of let me figure it out without fixing it. So I'd recommend if somebody's dealing with an addict, just live in it with them. Don't try to fix it.
And codependency is a real thing. I mean, I've got a lot of 40, 50-year-old men in here that have moms still trying to engage and get in the mess. And we really are a big time keeping that out of the equation. But like, there is a fine line from you getting on the phone and being codependent or being with love and holding accountability. Because my experience over these years is family members cause great damage when they get codependent and try and fix, or they come in and we've made great progress and then they're condescending, thinking at one point 2/3 of the way through the game that they've got it all figured out. You didn't know when you started. You know, so just like hang in there, be loving, don't be condescending, don't try and fix anything. If you have a family member that's like that, it's more likely that they should reach out to people that are not their family. Because I wasn't good for my daughter. I wasn't. My daughters now are older and I'm making progress now, but during those seasons I needed outside help. And so like, connect with people, probably try to not get too intimately involved in the addiction of a close family member, but encourage those people around them to reach out to them. We tend to make it worse than better. And I did it myself and I know better. Husband and I were like, oh, we have to disengage. My daughter just went through our trainings. We had to be careful to let her be trained by the other people and not us. So I like that you brought that up. We got to be careful.
Yeah, it's tough to watch someone hurt. It is. But that's what we're looking for, justification. So we're looking for you to make it okay for what I'm doing right now so that it's okay to do it. And again, it's just an excuse. As an addict, I am the best person at making up an excuse. Like, I can find an excuse to do anything.
We're great. We're great manipulators.
Yeah, we are. This is our specialty. We can find a reason to make it okay in our own head. And the more you make it okay, the better off we are. Yeah. That's just the reality of it. And sometimes just listening, letting us live in it, but being honest with us, like, what are you doing right now? Like, really? That's really where you want to live right now?
Hey, do you find it helpful whenever people like ask, like, can I give you feedback? Can I, you know, was that something that was an easy thing for you to welcome, or is it like, I don't really care what you think right now?
Not at first, but feedback is the greatest gift that I've ever received. But sadly, it needs to be a certain environment. We're just not conditioned anymore to receive feedback. I hear my children that are 12 and 15 now, they've been conditioned by it. That's the way we live. So it's easy for them to do it. My experiencing of you is, most of us know that whole get down, like, that's a great way of living. Like, are you open to feedback? And then the person postures themselves to receive the feedback. But we don't deliver it that way anymore in our culture. We're so arrogant that we tell everybody what they deserve and what they should do, where feedback is the greatest gift. I am super drama by nature. You can tell in this little time together, people will say, that's probably her. Like, I'm theatrical. everything I do. But now I've done it in a way that it's my persona and it's a healthy thing. But at first, I needed feedback from people more than one person telling me the same thing. But it's how we deliver it. Hey, are you open to feedback? I see this thing that might be hurting you. And they need to receive, they need to come into agreement that they're open to it. Otherwise, it's on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, huge. I know we're getting short on time. And so with that, Dana, one of the things that, I'd love for you to share is what's the needs of Crossing the Jordan? You guys are a business nonprofit. You guys take care of how many residents?
110 with children.
110 with children, and that's men, women, children. So we'll a full family. You guys are responsible for caring for them, loving them, standing for them, with them through all this. What is reality look like where your organization stands today? What's the need? What's the request that you, for you guys right now?
So,
how can we partner?
Really quick, we're very passionate about our sustainability. We are not donation based whatsoever. We feel like it's a part of the recovery process and the transformation, because people are not, we're teaching them how to fish through our industries. Our industries are 100% shut down. I'm in a very interesting area in California, and our restrictions are getting tighter and tighter. It does not look like we are going to be relieved of any orders. And so all of our income is gone. We have not received the PPP program. We're trying, we're hopeful. We all know what's going on with that money. So if there is anyone out there that knows anyone and would like to give financially, we are a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. So if you're local, when we do open up, please shop and donate. But right now, the only thing that you can do is accept cash donations. So if that's possible, we'd be grateful to do so. And then we'll get back to our sustainability. We're passionate about that. We don't receive one government dollar. So imagine all of our industries being forced to shut down. And we tried to stay open as essential business. Because of the way we're funded, we were denied that, which I get it, but I'm hoping to get back to some common sense here and get us going. But in the meantime, if anybody can donate, we're so grateful.
Yeah. And as somebody who has gotten to know many residents over the years through some of the coaching experiences that I've been part of, guys, these are people that care. Dina and Michael and their team care. As I'm looking at the comments, so many of you are speaking as to the investment that this organization, these two wonderful people have done. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't say, go to the website, check it out, visit them, give whatever you can give, partner with them, however way that looks like, whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, it doesn't really matter. If we want to really see addiction to be something that we care for, people that are hurting, cared for right now.
Well, I'd like to just point out, if they could go, and even if no giving, please watch the 15-minute documentary, because we didn't have the conversation around if addiction is a disease or not. And we put together a real strong documentary that's very entertaining, some crime story stuff we've woven in and well produced. But it's important to understand we need to have this conversation after the pandemic, because the way we're approaching addiction isn't working. We have a high recidivism rate in prisons and everything else. So maybe that conversation needs to be started. The way we develop our programs, there is another way of looking at it. We as a culture are so committed to our current way of dealing with it. Maybe it's not working. Let's just have that conversation. Maybe there's an alternative. People get so mad at us because we approach it differently. It's similar to what's going on in our current reality. Why are we so committed to what's not working? Now, there are people like Brian and us, but the percentage is way too low. We can do better than that.
It's true. Yeah. Any closing thoughts for either one of you guys as we kind of wrap up? Any other things, tips, messages? What do you guys want to close? What do you want to land the plane on from where you stand today as we close our time together?
Go, Joe. I mean, not Joe, Brian.
I was gonna say, okay.
I like that Go Joe though. That's got a ring to it.
For me, I would want to say, if you're an addict, now is not the time to be tough. Now is not the time to act like you got it all figured out. It's just not. We're in a dangerous world. What has worked for me is vulnerability, honesty, just real. Like I just accept who I am. I check it every morning and I get to work because that's what it takes. And in under 3 years, I have gone from being how I felt was almost broken to I'm happy every day. I wake up 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I am on my feet. I'm in the shower. I'm ready to get to work. I'm excited for the day because there are so many other things in life that are joyful. And so it does, they say there's gifts in recovery, and they are very real. So if you get your life together, it will work out, and you just got to keep trying. You can't, like, the minute you stop thinking about your recovery is the minute you start thinking about your relapse. That's just how it works. And then if you're not an addict, just don't judge one. Understand that they think differently than you do, and that they may have a lot of trauma in their life that you don't understand, and that's okay. You don't have to understand it to connect with someone. You just need to be okay with living in a moment with them. We have always been, I feel, socially more distant than we realize with social media and other things, and now's the time to use that to our advantage and connect with people. Like, send someone a message on Facebook, like, hey, just want you to know that I appreciate your posts and I love you. You don't know me, that's cool. You maybe not say I love you if you think it's going to be awkward, but I wouldn't be afraid of it. Like, stop being afraid of everything. Just tell somebody how you feel and be vulnerable. Just live in a moment with someone, and it will make a difference. I promise. People have done it for me, and it literally lights up my day when I get a random message because someone saw a post and they were like, man, thank you. I loved your post. Or if you see someone that might be struggling, just, hey, how are you doing? You don't have to ask them if they're okay. Just, how are you?
Mm-hmm. I love the question, how's your day going?
Yeah.
That's my mom has literally taught us to say that from like day one. I can't tell you the number of transformational like calls I've had with people that work for like the internet company or the cell phone company, because I just, like, I'm on the phone and, hey, how's your day going? And they're like, it interrupts their like state. I actually, I'm actually, I have the flu right now. My daughter's sick, and it's like makes for a really fun conversation, like with complete strangers, and you realize how much of a blessing that somebody actually gives a rip.
Yeah, just don't give up after the first time. And not everybody's going to receive it well.
Right.
It's different. This is not the norm for people. Like, just random messages. It's usually typically seen as creepy, but
right.
If you're not being creepy and you know your own intentions, then it shouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. If you're not that creeper, then just keep going and keep trying, and it will affect someone. I promise. Yeah. It's affected me from not strangers. They're on my Facebook, but I don't know them that well. Mm-hmm. And they will change my day by just saying, hey, how you doing? Hey, I liked your message. Hey, just a little bit of connection changes the world.
Yeah. Dana.
Yeah. I don't let the fear consume you.
Yeah.
It's all consuming. It's tangible right now. It's everywhere. And if you walk in faith, it seems to upset people. Just keep pressing on. Like, don't let it consume you. It's almost literally like a scary movie out there that you can see it. It has a touch and a feel to it. And we just can't, the antidote to that is service. Get up out of your comfort zone and press into people and be vulnerable. But, you will be amazed at the fruit that comes from giving to others. We have an exercise that sometimes I have people do that you give without them ever knowing, and you can't tell anybody that you did it. And we were talking about the endorphins. It's like, that is the biggest rush. It's so hard because we want to tell somebody the great things we did in that moment. And when we don't, like, the spiritual blessing from that is incredible. Like, Cross Control was built on those principles, doing for others when no one is looking. And so lean into that and not the fear. Don't get bullied by the fear or anything else. We are way bigger and better than that. So connect with people.
Yeah. Well, it's all about relationships, friends. Dina, Brian, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you so much for the blessing that you guys are to so many, including myself. And for people that don't know you guys, reach out to these folks on Facebook. They've already said, like, hey, they're all ears. If you need somebody to reach out to, if you haven't talked about the hardship it is that you're facing, or maybe that somebody who you love is facing, and you need a resource, a friend, a partner, an advocate, these are two people that I would turn to in a heartbeat. And so please, thank you so much, guys, for sharing your hearts, sharing your lives. I think we're going to have another conversation in the future after this pandemic stuff is finished, because I think what we're talking about is a conversation worth having. And so I know that wasn't part of our conversation beforehand, but from what today's topic was, I mean, let's do part two whenever the dust settles, because
thank you. I mean,
more.
That was an awesome. I woke up to that message and was like, yes, like I'm nervous about it. I've never done any sort of like Facebook Live or anything like that. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it. Like, how can I tell people to not face their fears unless I'm willing to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it. Let's just see where it goes. And I was at first starting to take notes and plan. And then I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Just, I'm going to speak from my heart. I'm just going to let the conversation flow and let's just do this.
Yeah.
Got to practice what you preach, or you're not a great leader. So here we are. I do a lot of video, and I was like, dang, what's going on with people right now? And it's putting yourself out there. People might not agree with what you have to say, and that's okay, and so thank you, Joe. You were great in facilitating that. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Well, connect and serve, friends. That's where our message is with all this. Connect with those around you, serve those around you, and I promise life will be so much sweeter. It always is. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you. You all have a wonderful day, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.